Well, I don't want to. Hey, all you recovering emo kids, Amanda and Rob here at the Emo Kids Anonymous podcast. And on today's episode, we are going to be talking about millennia. No, we're going to be talking about millennial nostalgia.
Yeah. We're going to talk about how our generation is the easiest marks on the planet.
Yes, I have a whole article about that from LinkedIn about how nostalgia bait is a great marketing tool for millennials.
Just
But we're
so
going to talk
easy.
more about the marketing.
Yeah.
So
We'll dive
easy.
in. Come on. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and you're probably thinking, but what does it have to do with emo music? I think it has everything to do with emo music
Literally
and the
every
reason
single
why
thing
we
on the
exist
planet.
today.
Yes. I mean, yeah. And let me just say, precursor, anything I say against any of this, mighty rich from the guy on the Emo Kids Anonymous podcast that focuses on pop punk, pop culture, emo, 2000 shit like that. Mighty rich, any of this coming from us, because the fact that we even need to have this episode is proof that it's a real thing. It's the reason we exist. But at the same time, the punk rocker in me just fucking hates all of this so much.
Yep, one day Rob will be that crusty punk rocker.
Yeah, I am.
today.
I am. Yeah. Shout out. Yeah, I'm trying so
Who
hard.
are you gonna shout out as a
I was thinking about
crusty
shout
punk
out.
rocker?
I wasn't sure. I was going to shout out my boy Scott as the gatekeeper, but Scott got mad at us for fucking shouting him out.
I apologize, Scott.
Yeah. Scott, anytime your name comes up, it is out of reverence. As far as I'm concerned, Scott, you are the mayor of this city that we fucking city council on. You are the North Star. If you say something is the law, I honestly literally just fucking
When I
go
said
with
you were the ultimate gatekeeper, I meant that out of love
that
and
is not a
respect for
slur.
you,
That is
Scott.
that is a
So
sign
there
of
we go.
respect. Yeah. Yeah,
Yes.
I aim to gatekeep at that level one day. Trust me. I've been picking up my gatekeeping hard lately. I used to not do it at all, but I've been doing it some lately. And Amanda, let me just say, like, a little gatekeeping is fun. A little gatekeeping.
You do
is
have
fun.
a lot of fun, yes, on your TikTok gatekeeping.
I enjoy gatekeeping, yeah.
I think it's also rage baiting, but he has a good time while he's doing it.
I rage bait in the most, because I do a lot of rage bait is unethical. Whereas lately I've kind of been like, fuck it, let's let the flood. Also, I put all of my Easter eggs go into this basket of Emo Kids Anonymous. So sometimes I'll do a rage bait, but I'll be doing it specifically for the reason I'll always slip in like the last couple seconds of the video. It's like, if this fucking upset you, go check out Emo Kids Anonymous. It's like
That's right.
Rage bait for us personally. Like, I feel like it's wrong, but like I'll hold myself out in any way I need to for this show.
Can I tell you about a comment that baited me a little bit? I did not respond to it, but I wanted to. I made a video this past weekend about Fall Out Boy's album Folia Do and how it was panned by critics and stuff at the time when it was released, right? And a comment in it, she's like, I'm a 15-year-old girl and I never hated Mania or Folia Do. And I was like, you weren't alive when Folia came out. You can't tell me. That's one time I'm like, okay, I love the younger fans because I respect a lot of them and a lot of them look up to me. But when you are 20 something or whatever, like when you have a band that you've grown up with and they start changing their sound, and maybe it won't happen to you because we live in a generation now where people are changing, sound changes very rapidly in the music industry, etc. It may not happen to you, but in our culture at the time, people didn't change their sound drastically. When they did, it was like a big deal because we're a monoculture. That doesn't exist now, but it did back then. So cut older fans of slack a little bit because they grew up in a different time than you with different experiences, and people may have had a hard time dealing with the change. They love it now. They may have dealt with change then. I don't know about
15-year-olds, if you're listening to this, turn this the fuck off. Go read a book or something.
Don't turn it off, but just...
no. Keep it running. Give us the playtime. Give us the playtime.
Remember
walk out of the room and go read a book or something like that. But honestly,
yes.
Props to those kids. Because I'm sure little 15-year-old me in the same way where it's like, oh, I love all this or that. Just the weirdo 15-year-old kids commenting like, y'all are the real ones, but also at the same time, understand you don't know shit about anything in the world.
I thought I knew everything at 15, and my mom told me a lot of times that I did not. And now almost 40, I realized that my mother was right, and I
Yeah.
did not know everything. And
Yeah.
everyone will have those awakenings at one point in their life.
Honestly, the best part of my mom being dead is not having to have her get those moments of being like, "I'm right." You know what I mean? Like, she'll
Yep.
never get that satisfaction, you know what I mean? Like, "You'll never get this, you'll never get this." Like,
Never get
as far as you know, I'm a millionaire over here, you know what I mean? Like, yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah. Who has the last laugh, technically, yeah, shout out, mom. But, yeah, anyways, let's move on to the, I'm sorry, Amanda.
R.I.P.
Let's move
Rob's
on, yeah.
mom.
Rest in
Yes.
peace, Barbara, yeah, yeah, we love you, but, yeah, moving
Her
on.
name was Barbara? Like Barbara
Barbara.
Streisand?
Yeah, all my mom's name is Barbara, and both my grandmas are named Barbara. All that's why I have like a Barbara tattoo. Like all the women in my life are just Barb.
I love that they passed down well, is it on your mom's side that they're all Barbaras, or is it
No,
mom
my
and dad?
dad's mom is Barbara, and my mom's mom is Barbara. Both moms are Barbara.
Okay, shout out Barbaras. Shout out the
A lot
Barbs.
of grip of Barbaras. Yeah, just
The
there hasn't
Barbies.
been a Barbara born since like 1973 too. Like so, like a real
It's
relic
very
in
true.
time. Real relic in time. That's why the Barbie
Yeah.
movie, I'm sure I think I've told you personally, like when I went and saw the Barbie movie in theaters, I cried 5 fucking times. 5 times. Like after the
Yeah,
second I
you didn't tell me that,
after
so
the
no, that's
second
what
or
you played for
third
me.
after the second or third, like I think it was after the second when the I cried the third time, I was literally like, this is comical. I need to start keeping a tally because like at no point, like I'm like 30 minutes into the Barbie movie, I've cried 3 times. Like, this is stupid. How many are we gonna hit? 5 times is the answer, okay? 5 times was the
5
answer at the
times.
Barbie movie. Got me 5 times. Yeah.
I feel for you. I mean, I cried as well, but for a
Yeah.
very different reason than you cried for.
Would you get just one? See, the magical part of the Barbie movie, and there's no Barbie movie thing, but even honestly, then a lot of it ties in. The reason there's a Barbie movie in general is probably millennial Gen X nostalgia in general. It ties
Yep,
in. But the beautiful
it
part of the
ties.
Barbie movie to me, as being this magically feminist movie, I also felt like it was a beautifully uplifting movie for men. Where like Ken's
I
story is
agree.
very much like, as a white guy, you're born in this world. You're going to be a doctor, you can be a president. It's like life's not that easy. You can't walk into everything. You know what I mean? Like now the game's not on easy mode anymore, and it's like that doesn't matter. You're not just your job title. You're not this, you're not that. It's okay
Yeah,
if your job is just beach. And let me tell you, Amanda, sometimes my job is just beach.
but you do beach so well.
I do. I do. I'm so
You
good at
do.
it. I'm so
You're
good. I'm a
so
good
good
boy
at
at
it.
beach. Yeah, I am.
Yes,
I
you
am.
are. Yes,
Yeah.
you
Yeah. We're
are.
the best. I'm the best at beach.
This I
But
feel like this is our dynamic. I'm Barbie and you're Ken.
yes, this is magical. Yes. This is, yeah, we're a couple of Al Woods is here. Yeah.
We are. Yes, but Barbie does tie into our episode today. Before we actually dive into millennial nostalgia, Rob, you had some things that we were supposed to do today, correct?
I want to do 3 album reviews, Amanda. I want to do 3 album reviews so
Okay.
fucking bad, so bad. So
Are
we're
we
gonna review
rating
three
them?
albums. We're rating them. I
Okay.
got
Can I just use this? Can I just use
you. Can,
my
you got your thing with the Kapashka on it, huh?
Yes.
Alawiwa.
I'm just
Okay,
gonna give it
yeah.
a yay or nay on my end. There
You
we
do whatever
go.
the fuck you want. I don't know. So we're doing 3 albums. We're doing a contemporary first up. So the first up we're going to do is a contemporary, a recent release. I believe this came out on August 8th on Atlantic Records. We're talking about Motel Ducat by famed
Good Charlotte.
Waldorf, Maryland pop punk outfit, The Good Charlottes. So Amanda, first off, the Good Charlotte album, are you giving it a yay or nay? 1 out of 10. What are you giving it?
So I remember hearing like when Stepper came out, I was not a fan of the first single. I think we talked about that on one of
Yeah,
our
yeah,
review
we did.
shows.
Yeah, I came around on Rejects. I can't remember if I liked it at the
Yeah,
time or not. I was
Rejects
iffy.
was
Yeah.
fine, but yeah, both of them I didn't get Warm as Fuzzies for. And we've had a lot of bands that have been around for a while that have come out with new stuff that I've really enjoyed. Yellow Card is one that I'm a big fan of theirs. Travis Barker is doing a great job with their production. Starting Line, we talked about it on an episode that's going to come out soon with Melee Fairy about just how like awesome the Starting Line songs have been, right? So we have some bands that are older that are coming out with new stuff that everyone, even the Motion City soundtrack stuff, I just couldn't get behind the singles. So then when the album came out, I listened to the whole way through and it was kind of a drag to get through, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
There were a few songs that maybe caught my attention, but I listened to it a couple of times and I don't know if it's just the production of it, if it's just the themes that are being, like, spoken about in it that are not resonating with me, but it's honestly, I'm not feeling it as much as I want to because I know that I've enjoyed a lot of the newer Good Charlotte records before they kind of, went on a little bit of a hiatus and hasn't haven't put out music before. I know I've enjoyed some of the newer stuff, so I was, not exactly impressed with what I was expecting to hear, if you will. Especially because I just seen them in concert in 2023 and they killed it. So I was like, I can't see them performing these songs live and it really hitting the same way. And yeah, so for me,
I like the fuck. I want one of those so
I know I
bad.
got you one. I got you one. I got you
Yeah,
one right down
fuck.
here. I'm gonna mail
Yeah,
it to you. I'm even
yeah.
overnight it. I'm gonna overnight it.
Fuck. I want that so bad. So let me just say, Motel du Cop. Here, first off, you mentioned Stepper. You mentioned Rejects. I
Yes,
love those songs so much.
you
Stepper to me is
did.
what Good Charlotte does best. Like I want that like hip hop. To me, what made Good Charlotte special is like they had a certain ghetto quality where there was a is like just a grind to them and an urban streetwear feel to them where like a lot of pop punk, I think of Blink, Sum 41, these bands kind of like represent suburbia. To me, Good Charlotte was
True.
like the urban version of this, where and Stepper's great. Stepper's just this like even same thing when I went to their rehearsal and they
True.
did the Q&A, someone asked them, they're like, what's your favorite lyric on the new record? And Joel kind of stopped and then he smiled and he was just like, bitch, I'm a big stepper. And it's like, that's tight. It is fucking tight. Like, bitch, I'm a big stepper. Like, that's a
He
tight
loved it.
lyric. I love that shit. I love for these dudes, like, imagine you had a sibling and not just a sibling, but a twin. And your
Yes.
life sucks growing up. Your life fucking sucks, you know? You
True.
know, your mom fucking hates you and your dad, he's fucking dead and gone, whatever reject says kind of thing. And you just have this brother, and together with this brother over the past 40 plus years of your life, you've gone from the fucking gutter to being critically unacclaimed to being like we're married to A-list celebrities getting to do what we want. It's just
Yeah.
beautiful. I feel at the end of the day what Good Charlotte does at this point, it doesn't fucking matter because these dudes have wanted life to me. Like they have wanted life.
Yes.
They've owned tigers. They're married to A-list celebrities, from like almost the A-list celebrities from their childhood where it's like Joel and Benji, y'all, I'm sorry. A couple of years. These dudes grew up pounding off to their wives before they married them. Like
Yeah,
it's
they
wild.
manifested
Super
this
cool.
shit.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
manifested this shit. Good for
They
them. That being
manifested
said,
hard.
I love the singles. I loved when I saw them. They performed "I Don't Work Here Anymore." A great ballad. Great ballad. There's a few other songs on there. There's one song with fucking Eddie Hendrix, who by the way is going to be on this show. Fucking
That's
rips.
true.
There's another, yeah, literally Eddie Hendrix rips. Go listen to Red Corvette. But there's another song, Pink Guitar, that I like as well. I like the song with Wiz Khalifa,
I
Enough.
do
I
like the
like
Wiz
it
Khalifa
enough.
song,
I
yeah.
like it enough. Yeah, yeah. I don't love it, but it's enjoyable. My problem with this record in general feels like too many cooks in the kitchen. It feels like I can hear the 6 to 7 to 8 songwriters to where you start compromising on lyrics and then it becomes like, there's 8 people writing and the best we came up with is like big world sad girl. Come the fuck
Yeah.
on, brother. You know what I mean? Like, I'd rather hear a singular vision from them. That being said, still an enjoyable listen. Good Charlotte Motel du Cop. We're giving you a 6.5 because I run on a metric system. I do ratings here. I don't say yay, nay, at least not until my Kaposhka things come in the mail.
Yeah, once the Kapachka
Yeah,
thing
once it
comes
comes in
in,
the
it's
mail,
all
yeah, then I'll switch to Imperial. But in the meantime, yes, Good Charlotte Motel du Cop.
here.
We're giving you, we're giving you a 6.5. Yeah, shout out. Second record I want to review is a classic record, a newer classic, featuring or written by or whatever the word would be, someone that recently, not even recently, was one of our first interviews on the show. When we first started the show, we
Yeah.
were a baby show. I reached out to this person and they very graciously agreed to come on the show. And to this day is, I would say, one of my top 3 favorite interviews we've had. And I'm talking about
I
the
do
album
agree.
Stay Golden by Combat. I believe this came out on August 2024. So this is an album
Yeah.
that just turned 1 years old. So now we're going to talk about Stay Golden by Combat. Amanda, would you like to speak on Stay Golden by Combat before I wax poetic?
Yes, I'll give my brief appreciation of Stay Golden. I remember we first interviewed Holden, and I remember listening to Stay Golden and being so impressed with just the musicality and knowing, not that age is a factor, but knowing that he is a younger artist, but just the musicality of the songs, the songwriting itself. And I know he says he doesn't write conceptual records, and I know he says like he wishes he can be more conceptual like his friends, but I think some of the things that he's able to do in Stay Golden is what has made Combat what it is today. Like, I think that that record is an excellent record for a young band like Combat, and it's gonna become, I would imagine, when we talk about fifth wave emo, like 10,
Should
15
be,
years from
yes.
now.
It
Yes,
should be one of those
it
albums,
should be one of
it's
those. Yes.
like
Yeah,
spoken
Combat
of
will
the
be one of
same
those
way.
bands.
The same way we
Yeah.
talk about like a Three Cheers or any of these classics from our
Yep.
era, like this. Yeah, yeah, I get you.
Exactly. Yeah. So for me, I always will give Stay Golden a yay. I cannot wait for you to get one of these. You're gonna get
I
ridiculous
cannot
with
wait
this at
either.
some point.
I
But I
cannot wait.
know that you love Stay Golden. This is one of your babies, the song, not Holden.
Yeah, Holden, I love you, brother. Don't take that the weird way. You're old enough to be my son if I did, yeah, if I did, like, yeah, if I had a kid
Yes.
when I was 14.
Yes.
There is literally a handful of records I can think of in my adult life. And this recently came up in our group chat we have with our ultra elite group of emo influencers, where we're talking about, just random things. And I can think of in my like adult life, and not talking about classics I went back to, because obviously, as it's well documented, I went through a deep like Springsteen phase and just diving back to the 70s, the 80s, the replacements, whatever bands, the Clash, but like of albums that have came out, like contemporary albums that came out in my adult life. I think of the 59 Sound by Bruce Springsteen. I think of On the Impossible
Yeah.
Past by the Menzingers, and I think of Stay Golden by Combat. I think of this as maybe one of the 10 to 20 greatest punk rock records that have ever fucking existed. I think of Stay Golden as like Holden to me in this record. This is like I remember watching LeBron James with my dad, watching clips of LeBron James in high school. And this, it's like you're watching someone where they're so special and they're just growing into like, they're like, adult skin kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, this is so good, but
Mhm.
this is still the raw and cut version. When I hear Stay Golden, I feel that. This is a 17, 18-year-old kid at the time writing these fucking songs. Like, even just the title track,
Yes.
just the broken-hearted kids don't party like their parents in the 90s, things like that. Just
Yes.
the way, just that, like, just first things first, I'm feeling great. I don't think about all my past mistakes, swept under the rug like a pile of dust, just like little things like that, where it's just like there's a certain wisdom beyond his years on here where I feel like Holden, despite being 15 years younger than me, basically, I feel like he's 15 years older than me. And this is just, this is such a special record. Like it feels like no effects. It feels like My Chemical Romance. It feels like fucking
Mhm.
DIY emo of the 2020s. It feels like fucking Joyce Manor. It feels like Oscar. It feels like
It does.
it just feels like there's a rawness, there's a frantic energy to this. There's a urgency to this. There's a youthful abandon. There's everything you should fucking want in anything related to punk rock, to where I honestly say, and let me just preface this by saying, this isn't a number we give out just willy-nilly. There's only one album in the history of this show that's ever received this number, and it's Born in the USA. And that's
It's
Combat
true.
Stay Gold. You are a fucking 10 to me.
Yeah. If I was doing the numerical system, I would agree as well. But I am an imperial My
We're
Chemical
doing
Romance.
imperialistic. Okay.
Period. I don't even know.
Yeah, we're doing, yeah, we have one album left, Amanda. I'll let you want to volley this one up here a little?
Is it Kerosene Heights? I don't know that was
Yeah, it's Kerosene
Okay.
Heights summer, Amanda.
I was making sure that I was right.
It's Kerosene
Yes.
Heights summer. I don't even need
Yes.
to
Let's talk
erase
another
your
early,
for this.
yeah, another early interview, not early, but early-ish, in our podcast time. We had Chance on from Kerosene Heights, and at the time New Tattoo had just come out, which is their, single off of the album Blame It on the Weather. It came out last week. And this album, like someone had said in on Twitter, I think that this is like what Midwest emo should sound like in 2025, and I like cannot agree more. Like my favorite song on it is Die Trying, because the
Hashtag.
lyrics, God, such a good song. And it's like, oh, our bleeding hearts could be together, but lately mine feels more like cement. Like just the the heartbreaking lyrics and the yearning, but, like, then there's also New Tattoo, like, there's all these different things going on, and musically, it just hits every beat. Honestly, it's so well produced. Everything just
Shout
rips
out
on it.
Billy Menino, the producer, by the way.
Yes.
I've already planted the seeds about a Billy Menino appearance on the Emo Kids
All right,
Anonymous podcast.
Billy.
He is
We'd love to
down.
have
He's
you
down,
on.
but it sounds like scheduling's the issue. So I'm gonna full court press that motherfucker. Billy, you're gonna come
There
on
we
here
go.
eventually. If we need to drop everything we're doing on a Thursday night at fucking 7 p.m., we'll do it. We got you, Billy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%. And it is yeah, it is just I listened to that album when it first came out last week on Friday. Like pretty much I was doing my morning walk and that was my soundtrack and it was a glorious walk to say the least because of Kerosene Heights. So, I have to give that album like if I was giving it a rating, I think I would give it a 10 out of 10 because what it's doing is fantastic, but in my imperial Siberian system, it's going to be a yay for me. Well done, Kerosene Heights. We are very happy with the outcome of this record. I'm really excited for it. I hope everyone takes a listen. I know we've been promoting it hard on Emo Kids Anonymous. I know I threw something out on my channel. I know you throw
Yeah,
something out on your
I throw out shit
channel.
on my channel.
So
I will throw my shit out on my channel for this album every couple days. I will, and I literally told them straight up in the DMs, basically, when I talked to Chance and
you
Justin, the
did. I read
bands.
it. It's beautiful.
I hit up Ellie as well. Same thing. I talked to Benji uh, on TikToks today. Like, I will be a Jehovah's Witness for this record. I will knock on fucking doors. Let me just say, there's been so many albums in my adult life where I think about this and that. There's the 59 Sound by the Gaslight Anthem. There's On the Impossible Pass by the Menzingers. There's Stay Going by Combat. And really, I did not expect another album entering this pantheon so quickly. But I swear on everything that is holy, Blame It on the Weather is one of the most, if not maybe the most special record I've heard in fucking so long. And it's like I had high
Wow.
hopes for this record. I'm not someone, as you know, I'm a cantankerous fuck. Whereas if something doesn't live up to my expectations, I'll be shitting on it. If I loved you before, it doesn't. I don't need to love you now. I loved Rise Against. I'll tell you now, their new shit's absolute dog shit. There's a reason we're not
We're not
reviewing that
reviewing
album on
that
the
one.
show. It's getting a zero kind of thing. But like this album, Blame It on the Weather, I had high hopes because I loved New Tattoo. I loved this band. I loved Chance, great guy.
He
I
is.
loved the last record. But like this album, I listened to it when it came
Yes.
out on Thursday night over here on the West Coast, and it was such a special experience. Like everything, like what is it? Was it Things Like Trying? I think it's called. Where it's like he's like headed back home in the back seat. Felt like if it's something to ask me when it kicks in. Like the
Yes.
drums on this, it's just like everything about this album. Is like there's points in this where I literally, it's like I'm watching a game. It's like I'm watching the Chargers game, and it's just like yes, like let's fucking go. Like I'm just like I'm like my like I'm literally at home screaming along with the record as it goes. Like the little starts and stops they make musically, things like that. The way it starts with a song that's an intro and it feels like an intro, and then it fucking
Yes.
ends with the title track. And my God, when those horns come in,
Yep. The horns are what I noticed. I was like, I love that. That is
and so
fantastic.
I was like, this doesn't feel like in a world of content and slop and things like this. This is you're sitting
Yeah.
down. This is a front to back album. Even like you ask me if someone asked my favorite song on this record, like yeah, there's songs I love on this. I love fucking Diego All In. Obviously, New Tattoo I love. The title track, Ghost. There's songs I love, but it's like this is a thing every time I've listened to it basically has been I put it on from the beginning and I listen to the fucking end and it goes through and when it ends with the feedback of the last song feeding into the feedback of the first song, it's like I just want to re-listen to it. Like the Pool Kids put out an album on Friday and I hear it's great. I literally have not had
Yeah.
a chance to listen to more than one song of that because there's nothing else I want to hear besides this Kerosene Heights record. To put it bluntly, let me just say this Blame It on the Weather by Kerosene Heights. This is Nevermind for a new generation. This is Born to Run
Yeah.
for right now. This is the Dookie of DUI. It's the Three Cheers for these years. This is, if you were to take any recommendation from me for the next year, this last year, the next whatever, please, if you're listening to this, Blame It on the Weather, Kerosene Heights, perfect 10 record. And if our
I
scale went
agree.
above 10, I honestly might give it above 10. What we say about Combat, where there's this youthful, like Bambi legs thing almost, where it's so like ahead of its age, you know,
Yeah.
ahead of its time. With Kerosene Heights, there's a certain like I can tell this is a guy that's in my certain, you know, my same age range.
Yeah.
Chance has been through some shit. Like there's a certain level of maturity to this record where it's like with Holden, there's a youthful abandon, you know, youthful, like this is almost like it happened on accident, even if it doesn't. Whereas with this, it feels like this is a man who has been a special from the beginning, but something just things started clicking and they started happening at the right time. And he's at a right time in his life where he's learned and matured. And it's like everything comes together on this album here, where it's like, this is
Very yeah.
everything I want to hear in an album as a 36-year-old adult man.
Yep. I mean, not as a 36-year-old adult man, but I agree with you
Close
on the
enough.
other fronts.
We did 2
Close
back-to-back
enough.
10s. Yeah, wow, that was a
2
lot. Yeah,
back-to-back
we've
10s.
only done so many. Yeah, there's literally been one 10 out of 10 before. That's why when I was like, we got to review these albums. I need to document like these. Like we need a documentation of a numerical thing for these albums. We need to throw something else in there just because like we can't just be glazing for 30 minutes.
No. Yeah, we have to have something in there, or we can just glaze for 30 minutes. It
We
depends. A
could,
lot of good
we
music
could,
comes
yeah.
out. Yeah.
Shout out, good Charlotte. Shout out, Pay
I should
Hendrix. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Pay Hendrix. I'm excited to have him on the show. So, with that being said, now that we've done our album reviews, let's go ahead and dive into the topic of today, which is nostalgia. I know I feel
Yeah.
it a lot. I know you hate it. I don't know if you hate it,
The
but
thing
I
is,
know
no, I
you.
love it. I think I suffer from the disease of punk rock, where like in my head, I just
Okay.
have such a contrarianism to where it's like when everyone starts to love something, I feel like I'm just like naturally like, okay, well, I poke holes in it. Like, what's wrong with this? What's wrong with that? Like, we talk about nostalgia. When in the 2010s, before the Wilding Hearts, my band from the early 2010s, 2009, like 2012, before I moved to LA in San Diego, we were called the New Nostalgic. Like,
Yeah.
I don't wanna say I invented the concept of nostalgia, but, like, nostalgia wasn't really, like, a thing yet, so I may have just, like, invented, like, the whole thing, yeah.
Was it not a thing yet
I
when
mean, it
you
wasn't really like
created?
yeah, it wasn't really people didn't know how to spell it, yeah, I remember having to explain how to spell it, so, like, I basically invented it. But no, but seriously, like, in the most serious sense, like, at the time, like, as time went on, like, nostalgia just became such a thing, and looking back, and I think
Currency.
I have this weird yeah, punk rockness, which is such bullshit, you know what I mean? Like, because I'm not punk rock, but like I just contrarianism and almost distaste towards our own generation, which again, let me just preface it by like I said at the beginning, anything I talk shit on anything here, I'm a grown man who, you know, spends his days talking about pop punk and emo music, who loves professional wrestling, who loves tons of cornball shit, who once had a Pez collection. So like don't take anything I say on this episode too personally, because let me just say I am also one of you. But that being said, I hate
Yes.
that part of me. I do not like that part of me on a philosophical level.
Well, it's interesting when it comes to nostalgia. So the reason we decided to talk about this is because our friend Ryan, a Swemo guy, made
Fucking
a little
sweet
TikTok about
guy,
that.
yeah.
Because a lot of people call millennials cringe. A lot of people
Are.
give millennials shit for the fact that we ride really high on nostalgia. It's become a moneymaker for a lot of industries. In a recent LinkedIn article, because yeah, I'm gonna throw you some numbers. I'm gonna throw us some legitimate research here.
Yeah. Spit some
They were
figures.
yeah, especially so according to this report by Accenture, millennials alone spends like approximately $600 billion a year. Our purchasing power is huge. So a lot of companies are really
Dollars?
diving into the dollars. Yeah, $600
American?
billion. American, yes, not Canadian, not
Shit, that's a
pesos.
lot.
It is it is
Okay. Just
dollars,
making
not
sure I
yen.
understood. Making sure.
Yep. We are so a lot of companies, are from our movies and TV to now our music, right? To the emo nights, to everything that's like building on this idea of nostalgia. To Pokemon Go, they've talked about that, diving into
Fucking
to these
marks, yeah.
kids who were once playing the card game can now do it on the go. Everyone, even when you like buy food, right? A lot of the food companies dive into the nostalgia factors these days because we have the largest purchasing power, even though a lot of us millennials also feel poor. And that's just in part of the
Not
economy. And
even
that can
yeah,
go
not even feel, just legitimately live
Jiminy
poor. Yeah,
live,
yeah,
like
yeah.
live poor. Yeah.
Shout out to the poor.
Yeah. I think I saw saying like I think, like, on average, like, $27,000 in debt is what the average millennial has, and a
That's not
lot of
bad.
us really, like, feed off of, like, but we still purchase because of this comfort purchase, because world around us is so grim. And I think that's something that we need to talk about when it comes to millennials and nostalgia. They say we're the most nostalgic generation, right? And I think about my parents when I was younger. My mom brought us up on the things she loved growing up, and but she wasn't really a collector. My dad for sure was not, right? They weren't really like that nostalgic about their youth.
Collecting
They
was for
talked about
autists
it.
back then.
Yeah, exactly. It was for like the nerds, one of which
Yeah.
I am. It was for,
You
like,
own it.
certain
There used to
people,
be there was like
like
a whole movie when we were kids about this 40-year-old man that owned toys, and the joke throughout the movie was that he'd never gotten laid in his whole fucking life. And now
True,
it's
made
just like, yeah,
yeah,
that's
that's
insane.
popular
It's an
now.
insane it's an insane fucking movie premise. Now, if you pitch that now, it would sound so stupid.
It would, because, now popular people also collect.
Yeah, everyone
Um,
has that shit, yeah.
yeah, everyone collects, and, there's all those people around us, ourselves, who have become, like, just so, I guess, open to nostalgia and feed off of nostalgia, because nostalgia, what was it? The actual, like, definition in Greek means a pain from an old wound, like a twinge in your heart that's more powerful than a memory alone, right?
Fuck, you
That
just pulled
so
out
it's like
Greco-Roman on these motherfuckers?
I did, yeah. They actually used
Yeah.
it in Mad Men for like an advertising pitch. Don
Yeah.
Draper. There we go. So thank
Uh,
you, John Hamm. Yeah, and it's true. Like you watch things from your youth, and our generation is unique in that we grew up with a lot of media around us. A lot of our older generation did not. They had TV, but not quite like we had TV. They had like maybe what, two or three cable channels, is that. Their music, they had vinyls and 8 tracks, but you couldn't put as many songs or pump them out as fast as you could as cassette tape, DVD,
see
CD, and then later streaming music, right?
That's
So
something I think about a lot too, because I'm like,
yeah,
that's something that I always think about. I'm like, our generation, we think about, very hung up on I'd call the intellectual property of our youth. You know what I mean? The Gen
yes,
Xers, I'd say it's kind of starts in the 80s with the early Gen Xers, where it starts with the
I say yes.
He-Mans, the Transformers, the things like
Star
that,
Wars.
the Hulkamanias and things like that. Where but that was almost sort of nerd oriented. But before that, it's like, like if you're in this, did my dad like were they having the insane level of discourse over the Brady Bunch movie in the 90s that we would maybe have over like a new Batman or some shit that's or a
Or
new
Friends.
Ghostbusters,
Yeah.
whatever it is that's like that's infringing on your childhood memories of how exactly it was, and now they're bringing it back and they're doing it differently, and it's this bothersome thing. Like, did my parents give a fuck about like the Beverly Hillbillies remake or anything like that, or were they busy
Probably not.
going to work and just trying to survive in the world? I
Yeah.
don't know.
Most of them, like the boomers and the great generation, the ones before the boomers, they grew up in these ideas of like, you grow up out of your childhood things and you go off and become an adult and you go and make money and you have a family. And for most of those people, that's the American dream. And they all, for the most part, were successful in said American dream. But then you get the like early Gen Xers and the millennials who are growing up in a world that is rapidly changing
A
due to
little fucked.
technology. Yeah, a little fucked. A lot of serious major events happening that put our world on blast,
How
essentially,
about 9/11? Yeah,
and shout out 9/11. And then a lot of booms and busts in industries that happened a lot quicker than it did for the boomers and the great generation. Like the industrial like, when you start seeing like the robotics, like the changing in the way like things
I
started
hate
to when
robots. The
yes,
clankers, the
right?
wire backs, the skin tins. Yeah, the tin skins. Yeah,
Yeah, the
yeah.
skin tins. I didn't know we had bad we
Yeah,
had
no, we
some
got, we
like
got. I have so
slurs for
many
robots,
robot
but here we
slurs.
go.
I have so many. This show's gonna get canceled in 30 years because I'm gonna be,
Yes.
yeah,
The robot
battery
overlords will cancel this show when they hear
battery
your
eaters. Fuck
slurs.
you. Yeah, fucking yeah.
Yeah, but they
Chip
they lived in a
chompers.
different they got the dream that they were promised, and as we grew up, we also were thought
Kind of
to
ended up being a
have
scam.
yeah, it felt like a scam. We felt like we were going to get the same American dream, and we also were raised by these same people who wanted to make us feel special, so they make fun of us for being the participant trophy generation, but they were the ones giving them to us, trying
Thank
to
you for
build us
saying that,
up.
Amanda. Thank you for saying that because that's the thing I've
Yes,
often felt like this participation trophy thing. Only one group of motherfuckers were giving out these participation trophies. That
we
was
weren't
our
asking for
parents.
them.
Yeah, I didn't
Yes,
ask for
yes,
that shit. I didn't want. I don't. I
I didn't
like no,
ask
bro.
for it.
I feel weird about this shit. I like my dad's got like a box in his closet somewhere that has like a T-ball trophy. They gave him to every fucking kid. I didn't accomplish shit. There's no reason to have that trophy. But like you are the ones that gave us that. So it's a weird thing where it's like, how much of this is
Yeah,
our fault? How much of it is this? Like you talk about like our lives being upended, this or that. The things we've lived through, I think, have been relatively minor compared to like, okay, compared to l- uh, early Gen Xers and Boomers. The things we've lived through have been relatively minor. Like, I'm not compared to them, but with the exception of them, because you think about like, I think about like our
they had
grandparents'
wars.
generation. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the thing is like, I think about that. I remember I mentioned in an interview that's going to come out after this with Melee Theory. There's a professor I had at Fake Music School, Michael Anderson. He wrote Maybe It Was Memphis, big hit, number one hit on the country charts in the 90s. And I remember him telling me, he's like, the dads back in the day, he's like, for my era, the dads, we didn't have like emotional intelligence type shit. That wasn't a thing because it was like, I just came back from war. I grew up in a
yeah,
depression. I fed you, I clothed you. What the fuck else do you want? Kind of thing. You know what I mean?
yep,
So, like, with the
yeah.
exception of like, with the exception of the last 30 years before us, most generations grew up much shittier, but we kind of see things, everything's relative. We're growing up on the cusp of the Gen Xers, the late baby boomers, and we see like, oh, life should be easy. This is America. There should be cheat codes. We should be
The
on
land of
easy mode.
plenty.
Yes.
Yeah, because now that's the narrative being shaped in our media, in our society, that you just have to go to college and and then you can have all these wonderful things. And then it doesn't happen. And you start to see a shift in our culture as millennials gain more power over media, over companies, in marketing, etc. You start to see this shift towards this idea of nostalgia. And maybe it started a little bit earlier with the Gen Xers coming back around and, redoing Star Wars and putting that
I'd
back
say,
out
yeah,
in like the
I would
media,
say
right?
it kind of on the nerd level, it starts then, but I would say it really, at least in my ignorant opinion here, it really starts around the time that the first Iron Man comes out in my head, where the Marvel
2008.
shit, 2008, it really starts. And like maybe that's a bias because that's right when I was like 19, first becoming an adult. And yes, before then there was many a Batman remakes, X-Men's and things like that. The Transformers were a few years deep by this point. But like to me
Yeah,
at this point, this is where it really becomes like intellectually property based because then you see throughout the 2010s almost goddamn every single movie up until the pandemic happens is a remake, a sequel, or a
it
superhero
is.
movie. And I
It
absolutely
is.
cannot stand any of those three. Like it's not for me. Call me old fashioned, say I'm not woke, but I believe a movie is between a man and a woman who meet cute and then they have a nice time and then about an hour into it, they get into a bit of a jam, and about 20 minutes later, they solve it and they make out on a bridge in New York City, and the movie is fine. Like that's how a movie should be. But at some point, it became very much like, oh, we're just redoing this, we're remaking this, we're doing a sequel of this, we're doing a prequel of that. Like
Yes.
it. I'm okay if I'm a cantankerous dickhead about it. At some points, even the most like hopeful person, I feel like, by the late 2010s, even by that point, it has to feel stale because even we see it with like the Marvel stuff where like Marvel has to
And
like
it
Marvel,
does
like
become, yeah.
after the the Thanos type Marvel movies, like
The end
into
game's
this,
over.
in,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I don't even know the terms. I'm such like a
It's
fucking
okay.
when
Do you
I
need
was
me
a
to
kid,
explain it to
when
you?
I yeah,
I have a Marvel tattoo for a reason.
when I was a kid, you either liked fucking Marvel or you liked comics or you liked sports. You couldn't like both. You weren't allowed to. It
Now you
was the
can, which
law.
is a weird
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. Which is a weird thing. I'm still not adapted to it because now this is the law. But like you see it kind of starts to fall off because just I think people in general, like they have to grow tiresome of it at some point.
fatigue sets in. But with Iron Man, I agree, like somewhere around 2007, 2008, I think is where we start to see that nostalgic shift. And I think that's because a lot of millennials were starting to become adults. I know myself, I just graduated from college. I was entering the real world, and the real world was not what I was promised. We entered into a recession. Their job market was not there. And it was bad enough I was already an English major. And I already
Yeah.
knew that I was
Yeah. Already
already going to
fucked.
struggle because my dad reminded me on a daily basis why I had to become an accountant like he did. But I don't like math and I don't like numbers that much, but I love to write. And so I entered into a world that was unknown. And that's what a lot of millennials did. A lot of millennials also entered into a world where they were going to be put on with a lot of student debt because they really pushed student loans in the 90s and early 2000s. And later on until now, we get to the point where now we finally realize you can't just in constantly people in debt and these crooks come out. But that's a different story for a different time.
I was gonna say,
But you
shout
start
out
to see all
Fannie
these
Mae, shout out Freddie Mac. Yeah, shout
yeah,
out the
thanks.
ghosts.
Yeah, to
Yeah.
the homeless. Yes. Thanks, Perkins loans. But anyways, so you see these people who are growing up expecting to become these adults they ever had, but they're not getting the opportunities they once were. And what happens when you start to feel like you don't have it all in control? You cannot control everything around you. You start to cling to the things that made you feel comfortable, the things from your childhood that made you feel safe, that make you think of the good times. And so you start to see that nostalgia come up. And then you have technology helping it along. So we start to get streaming services. First, music, right? Apple, you can now put everything on an iPad, and eventually Spotify and Pandora and all this. So now you can listen to your old music that maybe you got rid of the CDs, maybe you got rid of the
Yep.
cassettes, but now you can listen to it all whenever you want and go revisit it. And then in terms of movies and TV, now Netflix comes along. Now you can rent the movies anytime you want first on a mail-in service, and then now you have a platform. And that's why when Friends came out on Netflix, and I remember I have a Friends box set.
Yep.
When it came out, I watched that entire 9 seasons I just for a whole week, I spent every day after work, I went and watched all of it. And I was like, I remember how much I enjoyed it. And then I could revisit it and say, oh, that was problematic. Maybe that shouldn't be it. But now we're able to start having discourse about it. And now we have online forums to have this discourse en masse with other people that we didn't have before. And you can connect with people about things you love from your past. And all of that makes you forget about all the stuff that's happening outside of it. Maybe that the job market sucks, so you had to take a job that you really didn't want, but you need to pay your bills. And maybe, relationship stuff's not working out the way you want it to, and things aren't happening. Now your parents are getting older, and now they're having health issues. But now you can start to dive into this nostalgia and relive the things that you fell in love with when you were younger, and that made you feel good.
My
What do
issue
you
with
think?
the nostalgia stuff in general, in terms of like how we handle things, because again, I'm not trying to yuck anybody's yum or anything like that. You know what I mean? People like different things. So let me just say, like the millennial cringe thing in general, we are cringe, okay? This generation in general is cringe. I don't know if we totally deserve to own houses. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if we deserve it. There's a lot of bad behavior. Like, okay, we did
Deserve
we
to
did a
own a
we did
house.
a Harlem Shakes. We did a Harlem Shakes. We did like fucking I don't know. I don't know. The flash dancey stuff, pump clap, these are all
The
products of our
planking,
generation. The planking, I don't know.
parkour. Remember when
Yeah,
parkour
yeah.
was really
The
popular?
parkour, yeah. Are you still sorry for party rocking? Are you still sorry for party rocking? If you rent your apartment, good, you deserve it. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. But in general, my issue is less with that directly, which I do believe all those things are true. Mine is more so, we're easy marks. We're very easy marks. We just never had Wendy's. We're very easy marks in the sense of like, we are just eating up, we're allowing these corporations to just feed us piles of slop because it has certain branding on it. You know what I mean? And I see it every time a new
Yes.
movie comes out that's a remake of this, and all these people they get so tied up in it, or this or that, or the discourse, be it the Disney adults or the Marvel peoples or this or that. And it's like, you can't just shovel anything these people sell you into your mouth. You know what I mean? You got to kind of at some point tell them to go fuck off.
Well, but see, we are starting to see a shift from that as well because
Yes,
if you look at movie ticket prices or movie sales in terms of box office, a lot of the stuff that they expected to do really well, like Indiana Jones Dial of Destiny came out and they brought back Harrison Ford, they brought back some of the original cast members that were still alive, and they brought back Steven Spielberg. And everyone's like, this got to be
yeah.
better than the Shia LaBeouf stuff. But it did terrible at the box office. No one wanted to see it. Now there's other reasons that could involve that as well. But people, even that did see it, were not impressed because it's not my indie. It's not the original indie, right? I think that sometimes
Never
marketers are
seen
getting the
an
wrong
Indiana
idea about
Jones movie in
nostalgia.
my life. Never seen one. Never seen
Really?
one. Never seen one. Actually, I saw parts of one when I was a kid. I remember being an unaccompanied minor and have to spend time in like a little room at the airport. I remember one time in the Calgary airport, we watched part of one, and I remember Indianapolis Jones here was flying a plane, but it was like a literal steering wheel. It made no sense. I don't
Yes.
know. Yeah, that's the only thing I've ever seen from the
One day
Indianapolis
I will
Jones
have
films.
to, Rob, one day I will have to ensconce you and gross you in nerd culture just so
Yeah,
you
I
can
don't know. I don't know.
experience
I literally, I
it.
don't know anything
Because
about this. Yes.
yeah, because I mean, I am one who is hardcore into my nostalgia bait. I don't watch everything that comes out that's a remake and everything like that, like, because I read reviews first and I take those very seriously. But, I do look back and I do, like, rewatch things that I love, like, and listen to things that I love. Like, there was a good while for a good number of years where I didn't explore new like emo alt rock music because I liked what I liked. And unless it came from Fallout Boy, I didn't look at the new bands that were out there. Like we talked about it before, how the 2010s, neither one of us were as like engaged with those bands. But flash forward to like now where I'm trying to like in the last 3 or 4 years get into like the newer bands. And now I was like, oh, there's this amazing music I didn't even know existed. State Champs is one of them. Like, I was still listening to the same stuff from the late 90s and early 2000s. I was not expanding my horizon, but it was a comfort for me at the same time. It was familiar music that I could put on, and it took me somewhere. It was an escape. And I think that's why our culture, our generation gravitates so much towards the same music we listened to when we were kids, the same movies we watched when we were kids, the same TV shows we watched, you know, the outfits and the fashion and everything like that because it is a comfort factor and a way for us to forget about everything. And because we're so culturally online now, it's hard to do that. Dressing like an old lady now all of a sudden, like you could do it when you could dress like a lady, an older lady in the 90s and no one would care. That's why the moms who are 38 and 39 and like home improvement stuff, I look nothing like them. I was like, I would never be caught dead in that outfit. But they don't
No.
care. They're just adults.
The
They don't
nice denim, the
have
nice long denim skirts with the denim fucking blouse over top with the buttons and shit. Yeah, with the floral print. Yeah,
yes.
doesn't exist
And then the
anymore.
mom bob.
Yeah,
Yeah, because now you have this perpetually online, you have influence, you have people telling you like you had fashion magazines. But no one it wasn't, like, constantly in your face. You could pick a fashion
no.
magazine up if you want to or not. But now it is in your face, and now you're like, "I gotta stay young, I gotta dress young, and I wanna feel young." And now it's a different thing, right? It's a totally different
Yes,
atmosphere, and also, I don't wanna dress in a denim vest. I have no
I
desire
do.
to
Yeah,
do
I
that.
fucking do.
I'll buy I mean, unless it's my Fall Out Boy denim vest, and that's
But
different.
if
That's
there's
like a
anything
motorcycle vest.
I would love a denim vest, but what I would love more than a denim vest is a beautiful Emo Kids Anonymous blouse, which you can buy for one for 20, two for 40 over at the
Good plug.
neverphasenetwork.com website. That's what I would wear instead of the denim
Yes.
floral print. Let me just say though, yours probably gonna come with sleeves. You gotta BYOB that shit yourself. Sorry, I had to get that plug in real
Yes,
quick.
yeah,
Also, while
sorry
we're
about
at
that.
it, prize emos. Anyways, keep going. Yeah, keep going, keep going, keep going. Sorry, just had to, yeah, I had
That
some
was our commercial
contractual
break in the
obligations.
middle
Yeah,
of our
yeah, yeah. Also, blue chews. Yeah, if you guys need to ramp up your boner game, get a blue chew. No, they
Yeah,
haven't given us any money yet. Yeah.
yeah. But it's also a way for us to hold on to the things that we love. You know, instead of now we don't have to necessarily put it in the attic and keep it away. We could display it proudly because it is now acceptable to do that. And I think that if you were to ask some boomers, some great generation folks, they might have some of them had their collections, some of them had their things that they kept up. Maybe not as an overconsumption of what millennials had, but millennials also grew up in a time of overconsumption. We grew up where capitalism
Well,
is
yeah,
still
that's
thriving. It's
I
different.
literally I posted today as like a soft hint at this episode basically, or was like basically the idea is that millennials spend so much on these toys and shit like that. Because I mean, we did grow up in a world like I'm coming of age in the late '90s, early 2000s, where like I remember reading studies where like families were spending hundreds of dollars on entertainment every week, and that entertainment is not going to go spend $70, per ticket to a show like it is now. It was like
Yeah.
we're buying 3 CDs and a VHS and a DVD kind of thing. We're buying 2 CDs and a box set. We're buying a couple CDs and a fucking DVD and a Blu-ray. There was a level of consumption on these things, and it became this point, like, yeah, in the last 15 years, where like, yes, shows are expensive as fuck, whatever. But like for the most part, like that other type of consumable media, like the movies you want to watch, for the most part, everything's been on Netflix. And yeah, there's 100 streaming services now, and it's basically the same as cable. But there was a sweet spot there where, as we were coming of age, like in our 20s, where it was like, okay, you could pay $9 for the Netflix and $9 for the Hulu and $9 for your Spotify. And that's everything. And that's Spotify, that price, of that Spotify, even now, the price of your Spotify or your Apple or what the fuck
Goes up
ever,
every year.
but it's the price of one album. And the average American
Yeah, it
family
is.
25 years ago was buying, I believe, 3 albums per week or whatever the number is, where you were spending so much more on music or on anything in general, to where now you're conditioned to think like, okay, there's a certain amount of money. I remember watching this episode of King of the Hill where like they had like Bobby put together like a budget, and it was like, oh, our entertainment budget is so
Yes.
minimal. You have all this money you have set aside for entertainment. In our heads, it's like, okay, well, I work my ass off all week. I do this, I do that. I pay for this, I pay for that. There's generations before us where it's basically like we're just trying to put food on the table. For us, it's like, well, I want a little treat, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that little
Treat
treat,
yourself.
maybe, yeah, well, yeah, which is good. I'm all for it. That little treat, which was once like, like a CD or a DVD. The other guys on Blu-ray or fucking, yeah, the box set for the fucking whatever show you like. But then it becomes like collectibles or something like that, because it's basically like quite literally that void has to be filled.
Yeah, it's a psychology factor for sure because our generation grew up with more advertisements thrown in our face than any other previous generation. We didn't have just 3 channels for TV. We had
No,
like 60 channels,
six.
all throwing advertisements on us, and they knew the psychology. They knew what they needed to do to get it in our face to buy more. They started with the kids, with the if you look at those toy advertisements from the 90s,
They're
like,
sick. Those
you
toys
watch
look
one of those and I'm
so
like, "I
tight.
want that. I want
Yeah.
that Bop It. You don't understand." Like,
None of that should be
I want
bopping as
that
much as it does in the
Furby.
ads in real life for real. No.
Exactly. Yeah, none of it's as good as it is once you get the actual toy, but we grew up with this being trained on and this advertising like slog, and then it gets worse because now it's online, and now every time you click on a website, there's an advertisement. Every time if you don't pay for YouTube Premium, you're gonna get an I do because I don't want ads, but you you get an advertisement
Damn.
before, after, in between your YouTube video. If you have advertisements now for streaming, so we've grown up with way more being thrown at us visually and psychologically in terms of to want more and more and more. So this overconsumption has been just like fed into our brains as consumers, as millennials. And it does that we need to fill our void, that we are feeling bad because we are not given what we're promised. This is not happening. So what do? We fill it with the things that make us happy. And for us, it's going back to our youth and it's collecting all the comics or the vinyls or the CDs. And that's what makes us happy. Or in terms like my sister, it's collecting every fantasy YA novel that ever existed in multiple different formats because you can't have
YA.
one edition. You have to have
YA
the
is a
Fairy Loot
is a
edition.
full on is a gateway to perversion. Yeah, a lot of people
Well,
say
I
that.
know, as someone who writes fan fiction
Yeah,
for a
yeah. I was gonna
living
say,
and
yeah,
read a lot of YA, I agree.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Not good. those young books are, yeah, they're a cornerstone to perversion and freak stuff. There's just, which I understand.
Exactly.
I think the generations before us, they would maybe turn to drugs and alcohol and domestic violence and things like that to
Yes.
get their kicks off, which I mean, like
Or golf,
except
or golf,
except yeah,
maybe golf and cooking. I
I
was
was
gonna
gonna
say
say except for
golf
the
and
last one,
cooking.
but now golf is the last one. So yeah, except for the DV one, like for most of those, like I understand, you know what I mean? You need to fill this void. But yeah, again, just like I think of the 40-year-old version, I feel like there was some uniqueness to like that era of like the late Gen X, early millennials, where they're collecting these things, where there's some uniqueness to it. It's this toy, it's this or that. What I don't love about it, about all this, is the Disney adultification, the Funko Popification of our culture, where
Yes.
it doesn't feel like there's a uniqueness to it, like the Funko Pops. The
Yep.
Funko Pops did nothing to me, and if you have Funko Pops, I don't fucking actually care, you know what I mean? Like, but it's like in my head, it's like, this means something beyond what it actually means, where it's like, these are just there's no individuality to these. It's just a base thing that's printed with like a face put over it, and it's with an intellectual property on the
Yes.
box. So you're buying the home improvement guy, you're buying the Mark Hoppus guy, you're buying the Patrick Stump, you're buying the Speed Race or the Mario, whatever it is. But Benji literally has that same fucking toy in his room. Yes, we have all the NSYNC
Luck.
guys. We have
Luck.
NSYNC. Look at that. Look at that.
I
Is this
also have
literally
NSYNC up
more than
there.
you bargained for? Yeah, it is. Yeah. The Christopher Patrick one.
Wait,
Literally, you
okay,
can see
hold
it in the
on,
jersey, the
because now
black jersey. You
we're gonna
got it?
talk about
Have it.
nostalgia.
Yeah, yeah.
Look,
Let's
I
pull out the fucking Funko
okay.
Pops. Did you do a leg kick for the fucking perverts watching? You gave him a soul. You gave him a soul shot, Amanda. You're gonna be on fucking Foot Finder within the week, bro. Damn.
There's Cher from Clueless. There's Xena, the
Wow.
warrior princess.
They're the same thing
I'm
with
not taking the
wigs. They're not even a wig.
I'm not taking the NSYNC's up there. I'm not taking NSYNC down. They're
No,
up
no,
there. I'm
no,
not
no.
taking them
Yeah,
down.
we have
Okay.
respect for heroes. Okay. Wow. But yes, there is like, if I end up in that fucking screenshot on Foot Finder, I'm gonna be so bummed. Just like cut me out, whoever you are that posts that. Like, yeah, again, these are things where it's like, even things we're thinking about millennial cringe stuff in general. Like, even what we do, one of the magical things that I remember when we like first released our first episode, one thing like before I realized how awesome this show was and how awesome you were and how like well this
Yes.
works, not even before that, but like just one of the like early benefits I noticed is like I have such a contrarian, which is again probably the self-hate. I probably need to deal with this internally, but it's like, oh, so many things in millennial, like a thumbnail, like a reactionary thumbnail to where like even for our episodes, we have a new episode comes out. There's a thumbnail of us, things like that. In my head, it's like I would never make those. Those are fucking cringe. They're corny, but it's like you need those. Those need to exist. It's like
Yeah.
having cake and eating it too. I remember even saying to like multiple people early on, it's like I'm so happy I have Amanda because it's like I don't want to do those things. You will do those things that I have my fucking like arms crossed
Yeah.
over, but it's like we need that. It's bullshit that I think not to do these things because these are things that have probably held me back. But it's like little things like that that just kind of YouTube, like just millennial culture, cringy. Everything in our world is fucking like embarrassing. Even like what we're on here right now. You're watching us. Maybe you're watching us on Spotify or Apple. Maybe you're watching us on YouTube. If you're not watching us on YouTube, please click over there. We could use your YouTube views. I think those ones generate more money.
We
So go
could.
watch YouTube. There's more ads than the like. Please go watch us on YouTube, YouTube. But like I remember seeing this thing recently where it was like millennials have a certain view of YouTube because the early adopters of YouTube, you think of like Smosh, what's the bitch that did the
Yeah.
ukulele song? You know, what's her? I don't remember her name. You know what I'm talking
Oh,
about?
I don't remember her name.
With the fucking lipstick on
The
her
Star
face. Yeah.
Wars kid.
Yeah.
I
But well, I
remember
mean, like
I
I think
remember
like right
Kelly's
after them because
shoes.
they're organic, but like right after that, when it becomes like the Mr. Beastification, where it's like and prescribe, you know what I mean,
Yes.
like that kind of stuff. That's millennials, and it was honestly for the most part the worst of our generation became YouTubers. I think people like you and myself, we really romanticized the institution of journalism and broadcasting and things like that. So where we saw YouTube maybe as, or at least I did personally like, because like I mean, again, I've said to you personally, but I see you, Amanda. You are a modern day Katie Couric. Like, I see us as like this is
Thank you.
we do TV news here on the internet, but it's like in my head, these YouTuber stuff, it was very corny as opposed to like, oh, you're supposed to do this. It's supposed to be on one of these three networks or your college radio or whatever. It has this quote unquote bullshit prestige attached to it, you know? So at least people in our general age range, we grew up into the mid 2010s thinking just like YouTube is for fucking cornballs and kids. And then by the time we finally
Yeah,
adapt and finally realize, like, oh shit, maybe this is the now, we're already 20 steps behind and there's already 200 people that have became multi millionaires off this, you know? That
exactly.
could have
Oh,
been
yeah.
us, could have been our generation, could have been whoever, you know what I mean? Where it's like
Yep.
I didn't
No, you're
want to try
right.
to I didn't want to be the new Logan Paul or the Logan Paul because like what they were doing was terrible, but it's like they built media empires. This is the new way to do it. We grew up in a world where it was like, oh no, you have to get that internship at CNN or MTV or whatever your chosen path is, and then you go from there.
Yeah. No, you're exactly right. And it just begs the question of, for generations like coming after us, what their experience with nostalgia is going to be because they're
They're
seeing us
fucked.
live it, right? Yeah, and are they going to go through the same thing? I would argue they're already living in nostalgia.
Yeah. They're already and plus
They're living in artists first.
they're gonna be under full clanker rule too. They're full clanker rule. Like they're gonna have the
Yeah.
youths, maybe the kids born 10 years from now. I think our children might be safe. Our kids are gonna grow up in a fucked world, you know, in general, probably. Sorry guys, you're never gonna be able to even
Yes.
rent an apartment. You're gonna have to live with me probably your whole life. But like, like 20, 30 years from now, like, yeah, it's gonna be so distraught and ass backwards. Who knows? Where even the idea of just blowing your money on frivolous entertainment, intellectual properties is even a thought because you're busy using your rations on the baked beans that the government at the time provides you.
It was very Orwellian, yes. So, in regards to this, though, we need to talk about how it relates to our scene because I think that this idea
Yes.
of millennials and nostalgia has played a large part in what we've seen with the
He's,
resurgence of a lot of the bands that we've
he's
listened to and the emo nights and everything like that. Yes.
take yourself back to this time, okay, where we could have had Howard D as president. But anyways, the world was different. But if you looked back at someone who like say they if someone was still dressing and acting like 20 years prior, 1984, they would have looked like fucking
We made fun of them.
bozos. Yeah, yeah, right? It would have been
Yeah.
insane.
You've
Whereas
seen him you'd
nowadays,
see him
it's
in the
like,
movies at the time. You'd see
yeah,
him in
yeah.
movies. Yeah.
But it was like caricature stuff almost. Whereas now these caricature things have been like rebranded to us. Like we spoke about in recent interviews. They're going to air after this, before this, where this culture is appropriated. We talked about recently with our friend Kayla, who is in a Never Phase Network with us, NAPNet. We're a group of content creators. There's a whole website. You can go there. You can buy blouses. You can watch videos. It's a whole thing. But like, we're just everything is mashed in. Where it's like, oh, rocker fool fucking Metallica shirt with the fucking studded bracelet, with the winged eyeliner, with the bangs. And it's just like, we're just mashing shit up. You're being so disrespectful. Like, this is commercialization, homogenization, whatever fancy fucking word you want to mention that you read in the book. That's what this is here coming
Commercialization for
commercial.
sure.
Yeah, coming into play here. Thank you for the book words. We're like, it's just, we are again, being easy marks here, these companies are targeting us. We even see it with like, I remember when we were young first announced, where it's just like, we're targeting so hard on
But yeah.
nostalgia here, where it's like, I think nostalgia is important. I think caring about your past and acknowledging the important part it played in your life is important. You know what I mean? But we talked about it recently, like in our, our friend group, where it's like, there's an interview with Davey Havok on Alternative Press, where he talks about how people identify with this music that came out when they were 13 to 15-year-olds the most, you know what I mean? And that is understandable from an
Yep.
emotional level, but from a growth level, logistic level, intellectual level, critical level, we have to adapt and evolve to some degree. Like I love to this date, I love Billy Madison, my favorite movie when I was 8 years old. I love this film. Do I think Billy Madison is a
Yep.
10 out of 10 film? Fucking no. You know what I mean? Like it just makes me laugh. I enjoy the
Oh
fucking poop
god,
on the
yeah. This
fucking doorstep scene. Yeah, great. I'm Veronica Vaughn, one piece of ass. Yes, great film. But like things evolve and adapt. And like we say on our show, like, or like I say, at least where it's like, like the modern day to me, the modern day, our world of bands, these emo bands, especially, I think of emo bands. The emo of now is so much better than the emo of 20 years ago, but it's hard for us to remove ourselves from
You do
that
say
place
this.
we were in. I say this so hard. I will I will fucking beat that horse so hard where it's just like these newer bands like Saturday. You give me a Saturdays at your place, at Kerosene Heights, a Riley. Literally just you can know the people we've had on this show just alone. You know what I mean? Like just off those few bands, a 10-month
Yeah.
summer, like a Chris Casey, for fuck's sake. Like, I'll take these guys over the fucking MTV TRL B tiers. Yes, I love the Good Charlottes, the Blinks, the Yellow Cards, the Fallout Boys. But like for every one of those, there was 10 to 15 to 50 fucking dog shit, terrible ones in the middle that we all act like they were good. They weren't good in the first place. But like to me now, there's so much newness. There's not those barriers of entry that existed when we were kids where you had to pay $5,000, $10,000 to go to a studio. Now you can do it on your homie's fucking PC with the cracked fucking, the cracked Pro Tools on there, recording equipment. There's an easiness. There's this like that SoundCloud rapper stereotype thing that applies to our world as well, where people can make this art. And it's so much better now, but we get so hung up
Yeah,
on these things from when we
exactly.
were kids where it's like, I enjoy these things. It doesn't mean it's good. You know what I mean? Like I can like it,
Well, and it's not just
but on a critical level, it's not, I don't think it's great.
and the and in that respect, that's not even just a millennial thing either, because I think about um friends of mine who are not millennials, they're Gen X. They're also not fans of emo music or pop punk. But they are, but only like up to like 1998, 1999. They will not listen, like they have not touched modern music.
They haven't heard
Like I
nothing
will
fucking
clean
north
them
of
9 out,
LFO and
like
Sugar
10 out of
Ray. Yeah.
10 every day. Will clean them out. Like they're like, it's not Sublime. It's not like, Four Non Blondes. I don't want to listen to it. I'm like, okay. Like they can do the 80s and the 90s, but then I'm gonna clean them out every time when it comes to like trivia games on music from the 2000s on. They're just not, they're content with listening to the same music they listened to when they were in high school, and maybe a little bit in their 20s. And after that, they all stopped because now they're all in their 40s, right? So they all stopped at a certain point. A lot of people are like that. Not everyone's like that. I know I've always been about finding new music throughout my time in music. So I appreciate music. I love music. And I do go back to the things I love. And I feel like there's a place to keep going back to the things you love, but also expanding your horizon, because I think of it the same way as I think of reading books. I will read if I like an author, I will read every book they've ever written for the most part. But then I want to find books like that because I want to keep that experience alive. And I feel like people miss that with getting into their nostalgia, not realizing that there are, like, you like this, so now listen to this because you already listened to this 1,000 times. Now try this new band because you might like it as much, if not more. And they may worry that maybe the themes don't resonate with them, but the themes aren't going to resonate with you from what Simple Plan wrote about I'm Not a Kid
You should be
you know,
resonating with that in
in
your 30s. Yeah.
2025.
You're not a kid anymore.
Yeah,
You're
I
an
don't
adult.
resonate
You
with
have
that. Like, I
children.
like when my bands
Rent is
yes, like,
fucking
we're
so
not like yeah.
overdue. You have bills due. You have things to
Yeah,
worry about
when you're
besides
saying,
being a
"Sorry,
kid.
dad, I'm not perfect," I'm like, you should have gone to therapy by now if you're still screaming, "Sorry, I'm not perfect," to your dad. Like, you should be going to therapy by or just internalize it and deal with it like a proper adult.
Yeah, just bury it. Yeah, bury it.
But
Good.
I think
Bottle
there's
it
a
up.
place for both of those. Because like, the nostalgia is good for the newer bands in that now they can show up using the right we talked about this on our episode this would come out with Melee Fairy. They can use the right hashtags to get in front of eyes they normally wouldn't have been able to get from, including my eyes, Robb's eyes, people who are going to be like looking for the tags of emo, pop punk, etc., who probably are older and used to listening to their Fall Out Boys, their MCRs, their Used, their Alkaline Trios, etc. But now the newer bands have a chance to get in front of them because they're using the right hashtags because of that nostalgia bait that exists, right? They're able to get on things like Warped Tour because nostalgia is so high. Warped Tour can come back, right? And people who went to Warped Tour can go back, and now they're going to see new artists because they're gonna wait around that set all day to wait for All American Rejects or Hawthorne Heights or Falling in Reverse, whatever the case may be, so
Wow.
they can
Shout out
see the
Rob
new
Raff, the
bands like Saturdays
friend,
at Your Place. I don't know why I brought up Falling in Re
our
I
friend.
forgot,
Yeah.
I remembered he closed recently.
Warped Tour headliner.
Like, so there's a good yeah, there's a good aspect for those bands in terms of millennial nostalgia because now they get a chance to get in front of eyeballs because nostalgia is so huge. Even the emo nights, which are not like I do love emo nights. I'm not gonna lie. I love listening to my music. I'm gonna be at a club. I don't need to hear the same like dance music, EDM stuff that I've always like. I want to hear my music, but in the form of EDM, I'm okay with that because I do like dancing. I'm a
It'll
dancer,
work.
but newer bands get a chance to go to those emo nights, right? Or they get a chance to experience those things. Because didn't we have someone on our show who did an emo night recently?
We
What
are
band
okay
was it?
who
They
are
said they
doing
did
a
an emo night.
doing
They
do
performed. That's right. Okay, that's right. Yeah.
like
You good?
there is an importance to these things, like, like emo nights and like they keep things alive, but just in general, there's just like I don't know. I don't feel great about a lot of it, you know?
Well, it is the commercialization and it
Yes.
is I think in the way a lot of these things start out with good intentions, but once it becomes part of the pop culture and it's now showing up on what, The Real Housewives or a Bravo
Yeah.
show, that's what Kayla was talking
Lord,
about,
yeah.
then
Yeah.
it becomes something else. And that's when you start to see and it's happened in a lot of for us it happened we've seen it a lot, right? Parents, they probably never seen their culture well, I guess they did when the '80s nights and stuff happened. But in terms of like these stuff, it's when it becomes part of the commercialization or the capitalistic society that all of a sudden it does take on a little different meaning and then all of a sudden it doesn't it's not special to everyone who's gonna be showing up, right? Because those people didn't really listen to that music, and then they're gonna show up because they're like, "This is a fun
I
thing to
like
do,
the
and I
three
can pretend
songs,
that I'm
yeah.
emo for a night." Yeah, like, my friend listened to this music, I didn't, but my friend did, so I'll just go do this. I think it has its time and a place, and I think that there are people who need that experience in their lives because it is a way to escape, right? I mean, they could be doing a lot of things on their Saturday nights. I guess they could be going to the local microbrewery and doing trivia night, but instead they went to emo night instead.
That's true.
There are different options for our generation to choose from now that we didn't have before in terms of activities, and I think a large part of that has to do with our nostalgia. So there's like there's two sides to that coin, and there's a double-edged sword when it comes to that experience. And the same with like the music. I mean, the nostalgia is the only reason why we have When We're Young. It's the only reason why these bands that we loved for so many years can come back is because they're seeing people pour money into this because we all have money now, right? So it is all about the money. Like I would love to say that they made the album like Good Charlotte made an album again because they just missed music and just want to put it out. They don't care how it does. But I would be lying if I said that's the only reason why they put that album out. When they see the money that's in it right now and that they have a chance to make the money. Michael McGormis is a great example of this. They see the desire, and it's not just us too. They are because of TikTok and things like that. They have new fans coming in, right? I think CZB, shout out CZB mentioned like how young like the audience was at like My Chem, and same with I think that Moxie from Melee Fairy talked about how young the fans were at Pierce the Veil, right? They because of social media, younger fans are coming in. So not only are they getting the older fans who can now spend the money, but they may also be the aunts, the uncles, the moms, the dads of our younger generation finding them on TikTok who are going to spend the money to take them there as well. So it's like a whole group of people now able to spend money on them, which has not happened in years
Yes.
because we just didn't have that
We didn't have
happen.
the
So
funds, yeah.
it's good for the industry in one way. Yeah. So it's good in one way. It's just that sometimes when that stuff takes over, because we are so embedded in our escapism, we forget that it should allow for the new stuff to come through as well.
Yeah, and I wonder how much this stuff mattered to generations before us. Like, I mean, I think to some degree, up until very recently, music was something you just listened to while you vacuumed the house. Movies were just things you went to have something to do with your family, and TV was just something you threw on to eat dinner to. And then at some point in the mid 80s, late 80s to the 90s, it becomes like these shows, this music, these movies you like become part of your personality. I don't believe that existed a few generations before us, mainly because they didn't have the opportunity to exist because those things didn't exist at the level they exist now. Just there was other, I mean, people were still worried about dying from like, scurvy and shit like that, like we still had, serious things going on. But at some point, it becomes like we are just tied up into these things and we see them as more than just entertainment vehicles, so to speak. Like I remember we
Yeah,
recently mentioned
it
like
is more
alternative
than
press.
entertainment.
Like to
It's like
me,
it's a life force.
alternative press to me, it's a magazine. It's to me, it was like a tiger beat in our world. And someone in our group is like, that was my Bible. And for a lot of us in our world, that was their Bible or these things where it's like, oh, these things, these institutions have this certain level of value to them. And we seem to be the first generation that really hangs on these things for very, varying reasons as we've covered here. But like, it's just really fucking interesting to me how we seem to be hung up on these things and why we are. I don't know what it is. I still can't figure out what it
Yeah.
is. It's like, yes, okay, 9/11, recession, this or that. It's like, okay, well, fucking Korean War, AIDS crisis, fucking Kent State, Vietnam, hippie movement, Great Depression, World War, like every generation has their thing that happens during these. So I don't know I really don't know what it is.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with mass media. I really do think
Yeah.
that that plays a large mass media and the digital age. They call us digital natives because we always grew up with technology. Like
Yes.
I had a computer in my house at least since I was like 5 years old, right? And playing computer games on it. I mean, it was still like the little DOS, like you had to type in the code and get started, but we still had that. And because we have all those factors, we're able to I think that makes things move faster, and when things are moving faster, it kind of shocks our systems and we're not ready for it to move as fast as we thought. Whereas I think with the older generations, they didn't have that. They also didn't have massive advertisement being thrown in their face constantly. The media was not always in their face. Like they watched the nightly news at 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. and that was it. They didn't have news on 24/7. That was a thing that happened in our generation, like really took off in our generation, like 24/7 news all the time that didn't exist previously. So now we're seeing not only like the bad things going on within our area, but everywhere, right? I mean, it's not like, let's be realistic. There's a good chance in the 50s if something was happening in Palestine, the people
Yeah,
here
really,
would
no,
not
yeah.
really have
No.
paid attention unless America was involved, right? But
Yes.
now we know, right? We know what's happening all over the world. And I think a lot of that is hard to deal with at a psychological level. And we're not trained or brought up to properly deal with that. And I think that that's where you get these, I mean, not to be Freudian, but we start to see these like childhood things that people gravitate towards as a way to cope with that. I think the generations after us will also experience that because that's all they've ever known, right? Their parents are going through it. They will all go through it because all they've ever known. Yeah.
Size the
That's just
pendulum.
my 2 cents on it.
No, size the pendulum. And maybe the alphas or the betas or the whatever the one is after that. Someone will flip to the opposite. But yeah, I think for the most part, this is going to be the way it is for the next 20 to 30 years.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I do see like Gen Z is like more conservative. Like they're a little bit different than
Yeah.
us in a lot of ways, but at the same time, they're still, at least the Gen Zers I see on social media, still obsessing over things, still collecting. I've seen a 16-year-old who has a Fall Boy collection that's pretty darn impressive that I would never have been able to afford at 16. My parents never
Yeah.
would have spent that
What's
money.
going on there?
Like I'm
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
a lot of millennials and stuff couldn't have the ability to purchase these things in their youth,
Now
but
we can.
now they have that ability, so they're taking advantage of it,
Very
which is
common
true.
as well. Millennials in general, people of my age range, we have a lot of sins to atone for. Heckin' doggo shit, BuzzFeed shit, Hamilton, Parks and Rec, the 2010 Marvelification, the Funko Popification, the Disney adultification, many things like that. That
Perez
being
Hilton.
said, that being said, don't feel guilty for liking the things you like, and don't let fucking weirdos like me bum you out or make you think that what you like is wrong. That being said, let's be also more aware of how these corporations, and at the end of the day, everything comes back to like 5 or 6 companies really that own everything. Let's think about how they're basically just kind of treating you like easy marks and capitalizing on your lack of serotonin you have as an adult.
Yes. We should all be a reminder that at the end of the day, the corporations are really the ones controlling
Yeah,
all
that's my
this.
issue. Is like we're getting you can't let yourself get got by Disney this hard, okay? We're all getting got by Disney. Let's stop giving them our fucking money, okay? That guy,
I know.
I know he's been dead for a while, and his head is in like a lap in Arizona somewhere, frozen. But like
Maybe.
a lot of Nazism at play there. Let's not give that family too much money. I was gonna say, I feel like we can end it. We can end it on Nazism. Yeah,
Yeah, Nazism.
yeah. You got anything you want to
Yes.
say before we send it home, Amanda?
Yeah, for everyone watching, don't forget to like and subscribe wherever you're watching this, whether it be on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube. Ring that bell for notifications so that you get notified every time there is a new episode that comes out. They usually happen on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Follow us on all of our social media channels except for Facebook at Emo Kids
Nobody has
Anonymous.
Facebook. Yeah.
Nobody has Facebook. And then don't forget, I know I'm going to mention this in the clip I always post, but we are part of a Never a Phase network, a home of content creators aimed at keeping the scene alive. So you'll hear more about that in the clip after this.
Yeah, have a great rest of your week, you guys. Enjoy your Transformer 7 movie this weekend or whatever it is. Superman 5.
Freakier Friday. There we
Freakier
go.
Friday. There you go. Yeah, Jesus Christ.
Hey guys, again, thank you so much for watching. If you weren't aware, this show is a part of the Never a Phase Network, a collective of creators keeping the spirit of the scene alive. You can discover more shows and creators like this one at neveraphasenetwork.com and follow us on TikTok and Instagram at Never a Phase Network. Long live NapNet.